Uh, Welcome to our technical demo for this sprint in the Noh Theater Work Cycle 1. We have several things to show this week. What we're going to be showing are several different components of the views. Since we're building in React Redux, the architecture inclines us to build sort of components that will then put together in different ways. So what we're going to be showing today are 4 components, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the advances we've made with the underlying data architecture. The first thing, this is completely unstyled, but what you'll see is that we have a narrative here that has effective tabs. By clicking on these different tab headers, you're able to change the content. What this gives us, just with this text component, is a narrative component or an analysis component that we're going to be able to reuse, both in the play view, where we're getting the analysis of the entire play, as well as at the section view, where we have just the analysis of the sections. And as you've seen in the wireframes from the previous weeks, for those sections that are longer and more complex, we need this tab structure to be able to break down the analysis and make it a little bit more visible without sort of never-ending scrolling within a smaller component. So this gives us just what we need to be able to create these tabs. And at a later stage, we'll be adding in the visual design so that the two titles here actually look like real tabs, as you would see in a lot of modern websites. So that's our first component that we're showing. We're going to be switching between a few different branches today to be able to show the others. What you can see here is, again, this should be recognizable from previous weeks with the wireframes. We have our showdown view, or the list of the sections within a play. This appears or will appear on both the level 1 play view as well as the level 2 section view at different places and at different sizes. But this gives us a reusable component that shows each of the sections. And just on a tooltip hover right now, or just on a hover action, shows the name of that section. This next bit is very small, but again, we're sort of building up the components that we need to be able to create the layouts that we want. These are just the time markers. It seems very straightforward, but by getting this actually in code and not just in the wireframe, it's a step forward for us in being able to build the views that we're working on. And the last thing that we're going to show, this is the intermediate table. So again, we have just a component. This would actually go in the bottom right of the play view, if you remember from the wireframes previously. And this gives us the component that will then be updated based off of the actual timing of the video that's currently playing. So again, we sort of have just some very basic minimal styling. As we continue on in the next week and next 2 weeks, we're going to be actually implementing and putting these components within the larger layouts and the larger views that have been previously designed, and adding in the different links and different pieces. But these are 4 components that we've built in the last week that are a good step forward in actually implementing our views in code. The last thing that we did was to work on the underlying data architecture, by which I mean, how are we actually getting the data that we need for each play and for each section into what's actually a single React on each page. What we've done is to be able to create the narrative and to create the data for each of these sections within particular files within the Jekyll site architecture. And then we're able to call out just that file based off of the URL that we need. So we've restructured the repo to be able to give us the nice URLs sort of as requested. So that we'd have something like no.stanford.edu/Hashitomi would take you to the level 1 view, which shows you the whole view for this interactive way of looking at each play. And then, for example, you might have /Hashitomi/Kiri to be able to actually view the section. So what our architecture does now is it takes that URL and then selects the data file that matches that URL or gets us to that, so that we're loading in the data dynamically. And that allows us at the technical level to be able to keep our own architecture cleaner, to be able to create fewer JavaScript bundles, So it gives us some sort of nice payoffs, and it was one of the big questions for the underlying architecture that we needed to solve. So that now we do have an implementation of that, which is a good step forward for us, and lets us keep moving forward with the architecture while also being fairly user-friendly in terms of allowing our users to create, or PIs to create and edit the markdown, the analysis for each file just within a traditional markdown or HTML page.
All right.
So those are our advances this week for this sprint. We look forward over the next week to continuing to add components, to start adding in some of the visual design and putting things together a little bit more. Thank you.